Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury is a Wii U port released on the Switch to help ring in Mario's 35th birthday. The port does have some minor upgrades, as well as a brand new game mode, Bowser's Fury. Does bringing this game to the Switch with a larger audience give it a second lease on life? What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I, as always, am Matt Tuna Turner, and I've got another video game review for you guys today. I wasn't sure how to review this game because it is a port, but it's not old enough to quite be retro. Plus, there is like a brand new game mode attached to this. So what I decided to do was review each game individually, even though they're in one total package. And then at the end, I will combine the scores. The game itself is called Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. So, I have a feeling this is going to be a long one, so I'm going to stop nattering on, and why don't we just get into this? Super Mario 3D World is an interesting mix of every Mario game that has preceded it, mixing 2D platforming with some of the exploration of the 3D titles. In this latest outing, you don't have to play as only Mario. You can play as Toad, Peach, or his brother Luigi. The game actually encourages you to try each character as well. They all have their own strengths and even are required for some of the collectible items. There are 8 worlds to travel across, much like Super Mario World or Mario 3, each with their own stages, mid-bosses, and final castle level. Speaking of Mario 3, the bonus houses make a return in this game's overworld as well. Sadly though, no tank levels. But there are some neat train ones. Another neat bonus type of level, new to this title, is the Captain Toad levels, and honestly, these were amazing. No wonder they got their own spin-off. You play as Toad, collecting stars in a small little diorama. Honestly, if you haven't played Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, go do it now. Now! Well, okay, maybe not right now. Maybe after the video. But you should definitely try it. Upon beating the 8th castle, you would think the game is over. Well, you'd be wrong. Just when you thought the game was over, it keeps going. And going. And going. Extending the gameplay and increasing the difficulty. In fact, the game itself is pretty easy until the later third of the game. In many of the game stages, there are 3 green stars and a single stamp to find. This includes all the extra levels until you hit a literal roadblock. It's at this point that the collectibles become important, and the game becomes a giant collectathon. Get all the things! Thankfully, the game supports online and local multiplayer. Bringing an extra friend or 3 becomes a huge help when trying to get all the items, and beat some of the bosses. It also adds an element of chaos that harkens back to the new Super Mario Bros. Series of 2D platformers. It just takes that one friend to bounce you into a pit, or simply toss you off a ledge. Of course, they would never do it on purpose. Wink wink, Spencer, I'm looking at you. And of course, what's a Mario game without some power-ups? Series faves are back, like the Fire Flower and the Tanuki suit, but this game introduces the Cat Bell. The bell has 2 variations. One is a plain cat, while the Gold Cat Bell turns you into the Gold Fortune Cat. Both suits act the same. You can swipe at foes and climb straight up walls and trees. You can also do a diving swipe attack that's pretty handy. The difference between the two is that the Golden Bell, every time you do is it an atomic drop? I just call it a butt drop. But anyways, anytime you do a butt drop, you gain coins. And if you butt drop off a high ledge, you gain more coins. And who doesn't love more money? All the power-ups feel pretty good, except the Fire Flower. Why only 2 balls? Jeez, this comment section's gonna be gross. Actually, you know what? Don't answer that. I've heard it. I've heard it. Yes. Mario and his friends all control as you think they should. In fact, they're all inspired by Super Mario Bros. 2. All the way back on that wonderful VCR-looking NES. Peach floats. Luigi's flutter jump is back. Toad is fast, and Mario is, well, Mario. The controls are really tight and responsive, which allows for some serious twitch platforming. Sadly, the triple jump did not make it into this game. The camera controls are similar to how they controlled for Mario 64, which is alright. Thankfully, the camera is decent at showing you surroundings, which is good, because in multiplayer mode, the camera is always locked. My only real gripe is that Nintendo decided to implement a everything button. So pressing Y not only fires a fireball or swings the tail or swipes the claws, it's also the dash button. But more importantly, it is also used to pick up items like bombs or your teammates. So if you aren't paying attention or are on a tight platform, you may accidentally toss your buddy instead of a boomerang. Oops. This is the first time in a long time that Mario isn't saving poor Princess Peach from the clutches of Bowser. Must be nice. Instead, Mario teams up with Peach, Toad, and his brother to take on Bowser and save a bunch of fairies. Mario and his pals are enjoying some time off, taking in a fireworks show when they stumble upon a clear pipe that appears to be broken. Mario and Luigi put their plumbing skills to work and fix the pipe, so they actually are plumbers. Once they do, a bunch of items and power-ups and blocks come spewing out of it, as well as a single fairy. This fairy tells the group that an evil turtle man, Bowser, has kidnapped his friends. Just as he's finished telling his? It's 2021. These fairies can be whatever the gender they want. Who am I to judge? Anyways, when they finish hearing the tale, Bowser shows up and takes the last fairy as well, and they disappear back down the pipe. Peach looks in and gets sucked into it as well, and the others follow. Mario, geez, avert your eyes, you thirsty little sausage. What we find out is there are 8 fairies trapped in jars at castles across 8 unique worlds. It's from here that the journey begins. The graphics in this game are absolutely amazing. They're colorful and crisp. The levels all look lush and as real as, well, any of them would in a Mario game. The colors pop, the shadows are dark and scary, and the water looks great. Speaking of water, in the levels with rain, the way the character models get wet and shiny looks really slick. In fact, the lighting effects across the whole game are amazing. One place where the graphics don't really work is the fixed perspective of the game. It is a 2.5D kind of isometric view, which makes some of the platforming more difficult than it had any reason to be. You have to keep a close eye on shadows, which in the darker and more frantic stages is hard to do. You can move the camera around, but only in single player. Equally amazing is the music. It perfectly matches the tone of the level you're playing, from the chaotic action sequences to the more laid-back parts. This is no more evident than the soft jazz intro of the title screen. I also really enjoy how straightforward the menu system is. There is a little hand-holding through the first world or two, but you can easily figure things out on the run. Plus, hopping online with a friend is easy and achieved with a simple press of a button. The best part is, the menu is the same across both games. Yup, both games. Which brings us to Bowser's Fury. Bowser's Fury is not only a brand new mode, it's almost a whole new game, and a really delightful addition to this package. It's not a long experience, but it's packed full of fun and, well, fury. The game plays like an open-world Wind Waker that has a blood moon, but set in the Mushroom Kingdom. You're dropped into a giant ocean with a few islands scattered around, and every so often, Bowser gets really angry and causes a ruckus. Each of the islands acts as a small little level where Mario is tasked with collecting a cat shine. So no more stars or moons. Collecting shines will unlock more of the giant ocean and therefore more islands. Each island is unique and full of platforming goodness, but the core game loop is to collect all the cat shines. Sounds easy enough, except every 15 minutes or so, Bowser's anger rises and he appears to mess things up. Like in Power Rangers, when Rita makes a monster growl. Meow, make my monster growl! Well, imagine that. Only an angry Bowser. Of course, Mario has a counter for this. Mario has the ability to go Super Cat Saiyan. Once he's collected enough shines, of course, and unlocks the Giga Cat Bell. Yes, Giga Cat Bell. Then the two go toe-to-toe. Without the Giga Bell, you kind of just have to hide and ride out the storm. You can continue to collect shines while Bowser is stomping around. It is much more difficult to do so, but doing so will actually damage Bowser and make him retreat for a bit. The game is a mostly single-player experience. You can play with a friend, but they are relegated to using Bowser Jr., and it's kind of akin to being the second player in Mario Galaxy, which isn't much fun. You can collect coins and items and stun enemies, but that's about it. Mario doesn't have a boat, and nope, Flood isn't back. Instead, Mario gets around the big ocean and from island to island on the back of Plessie! Everyone's favorite plesiosaur. There are also a few shines you can only get while on the back of Plessie. If you happen to be on Plessie while Bowser is rampaging about, the world actually changes and it becomes a bit of a race course full of ramps and bank corners and coins to collect. It's actually really fun. If only Plessie didn't handle like a broken shopping cart. Outside of Plessie, the game controls really well. The platforming is hectic, so it's nice that the controls are responsive and tight. Mario controls like he does in Mario 3D World, so no triple jump sadly, but you do have full camera controls. and you need it, especially when trying to get a hidden shine. One thing I did notice about the camera controls is that when Bowser is furious, the camera kind of locks onto him a bit, which is great, but there are some instances when you want to hide and then controlling the camera becomes a bit of a tug of war. The story starts out much in the same way 3D World does. Mario is out for a nice relaxing stroll around the Mushroom Kingdom when he notices some black gunk. He follows it, thinking trouble is afoot, when he sees the unforgettable M with the little umlaut from Sunshine. The M expands into a giant puddle and gobbles Mario up. Mario is suddenly transported to this new world where it's rainy and stormy. Oh no. Only to see a giant furious Bowser in the distance. Well, never running from danger, Mario heads towards it. This is where he collects his first cat shine and Bowser retreats. Wow, that was easy. Then we see Bowser Jr. asking anyone for help. And this is where mortal enemies become unlikely allies. Bowser Jr. asks Mario to help him out with his dad, who is super angry for some reason. And the two set off across this new ocean landscape, collecting shines and eventually freeing Bowser of his extreme anger. The graphics for this game are fantastic. They're on par with Mario Odyssey. You can even see the felt, nice little detail on Mario's cap. Plus the beautiful water effects from 3D World are back. In fact, a lot of the assets from 3D World are back, but somehow look even better. The game was obviously built on top of the engine for that game, and I actually wonder if this was developed as some form of proof of concept for the kingdoms in Mario Odyssey, or perhaps this is some glimpse into Mario's future? Not only does each of the little islands feel unique in its challenges and platforming, but the music perfectly suits their themes and pacing. The entire experience is very stress-inducing. You'll be hopping along, collecting a shine, when the rain starts falling and Bowser erupts out of nowhere. I just wish that when this happened, it didn't load what feels like a totally different section, because not only are the load times excessively long, but it kind of takes you out of the action for a bit. The same thing happens when you either defeat Bowser or collect a shine and he retreats. You load back into the non-angry time, and again, it just pulls you right out a little bit. So, the final verdict for Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. First, let's go through Super Mario 3D World. For the gameplay, it combines elements from pretty much every Mario game before it. There's up to 4 players simultaneous, online and local, which gets pretty chaotic. It is fairly easy until the later stages of the game. Some neat power suits, and who doesn't love Captain Toad? I give it an 8. For the controls, tight and responsive, but that bloody everything button, had to knock it down, giving it a 7. For the story, not so typical, which is nice, saving some little fairies, but nothing special, so it's a 7. For the presentation, great graphics, especially the rain effects, really love them. The 2.5D perspective made platforming more challenging than it had to be, so I knocked it down a bit. I still gave it an 8. Now, for Bowser's Fury. For the gameplay, it's an open world collectathon. Collecting cat shines open up some new areas, which is cool. It is 2-player, but not really. It is a great single player experience, but short. And I wonder if this is like some sort of proof of concept. Anyways, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic, so I gave it a 9. For the controls, they aren't bad. The camera can be a bit slow, but at least you have full range of motion, so I gave it an 8. For the story, well, Bowser's really angry, and it's up to some unlikely allies to help calm him down, which is kind of neat, but I still gave it a 7. For the presentation, graphics are great, music is great, reuses some old assets in a new and fantastic way. Sadly, the load times kind of knocked it down a bit, but I still gave it an 8. So, if you were to add all those scores up and give it an average, that would make the final score for Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury an 8. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I know it's a little on the long side, which hopefully you don't mind. This is actually the first time I've played Super Mario 3D World. I skipped it on the Wii U. I had the new Super Mario Bros. U, but I skipped this game on the Wii U, considering it kind of a sequel more to Super Mario 3D Land. on the 3DS, but without the 3D effects, I kind of felt like it wouldn't work as well, so I skipped it. Um, and then I saw it came out on the Switch, so I added it to my Amazon list, and a wonderful person, a woman, I'm not going to name her here, but she's a very kind, sweet woman, surprised me with it. And I'm really glad she did because I'm actually kind of sorry I missed this on the Wii U. If you don't have a Switch and you happen to have a Wii U, I would definitely recommend picking up Super Mario 3D World. I really enjoyed this game. It's fun to play through. There's lots of stuff to keep you coming back, so I definitely recommend picking this up. I mean, I gave it an 8, right? That's pretty great. 8 is great. Great for 8. Um, Anyways, I think I've been rambling on long enough. If you do like this content, please do hit that subscribe button with a fireball and maybe do a ground pound on that. Ground pound, not butt pound. Ground pound. Jeez. Where is my brain? Do a ground pound on that little bell for notifications to let you know when I am releasing new content. I do try and release on Thursdays or Fridays. This video is probably not going to make that. So hitting that bell is good for you, and it helps me out as well. I do everything on my own, so any help is always appreciated. And I hope you guys stay safe and healthy out there, and I will see you in the next one.